The prime spray valve should still be in the prime position. Turn the power switch on. The sprayer's motor should begin to run. When paint comes out of the prime tube, release the trigger safety on the gun and squeeze the trigger into the waste pail. Keep the trigger squeezed while turning the prime spray valve horizontal to the spray position. Be sure to squeeze the trigger during this step. Continue triggering the gun into the waste pail to pump the water out of the hose until you see paint coming out of the gun. At this point, go ahead and release the trigger and turn the gun safety on so the trigger cannot be accidentally squeezed. The sprayer, hose, and gun are now loaded with paint. You can now clip the prime tube back onto the suction tube so both tubes are now in the paint pail. Remember to turn the pressure control clockwise to increase spraying pressure to high spray. Now it's time to install the tip and tip guard. Before installing the tip and guard, double check the safety on the gun. Attach the tip and guard assembly onto the gun and hand tighten the retaining nut. Be sure that the arrow-shaped handle of the spray tip is pointing forward and that it is inserted or seated completely into the housing. The arrow-shaped handle of the spray tip points forward when it is in the spray position and can be turned backward for unclogging the spray tip. This is why Graco tips are called reversible spray tips. Tips can also be used to spray either vertically or horizontally depending upon their position in the housing and your preference. Remember, never put your hand in front of the spray tip and never point the spray gun at yourself or anyone else. Selecting the correct spray tip is vital to the quality of your finish and the performance of your new Graco unit. Your unit comes with a tip that is used in most common applications. Generally, a heavy material like exterior latex paint requires a larger spray tip hole size, and lighter materials like stains and enamels require a smaller spray tip hole size. On average, a Graco carbide spray tip will spray 15 to 40 gallons or more before it needs to be replaced. Spray tip life depends on the quality and abrasiveness of the material being sprayed. Most materials will identify which spray tip to use on the outside of their container. Make sure the spray tip size you select is supported by your sprayer. Visit Graco's website at magnum.graco.com for additional information on tip selection. Once the tip and tip guard are properly installed, you're ready to spray. Before you get started spraying, if you do not have a lot of experience, it is best to start on a large flat area, like the side of a house or other area not easily seen. You can even just spray water for practice, but make sure you let the surface dry completely before painting with real paint. In a good spray pattern, the paint or coating material is completely and evenly distributed onto the surface. There are several techniques that you can use to ensure a quality finish. Use some scraps of cardboard to test the quality of the spray pattern. Start at the minimum spray pressure and slowly increase the pressure until a good spray pattern is achieved. This is a good spray pattern. Notice that there are no runs in the pattern and that the pattern itself is smooth and even. If your pattern has what are known as fingers or tails, that is, an uneven finish such as this, then the pressure should be increased. Spraying at the lowest pressure possible while still getting a good spray pattern will save wear and tear on your pump and spray tip. If you are at the maximum pressure setting and the spray pattern is still not suitable, a smaller spray tip hole size should be used, or your material may need to be thinned. The spray gun should be held approximately 12 inches from the surface and aim straight at the surface like this. Keep the gun a consistent distance from the surface. Move across the surface in order to keep the gun pointed straight at the surface. Fanning the gun to direct the spray at an angle causes an uneven finish. Flex your wrist at the beginning and end of each stroke to maintain an even coat. Don't spray at an angle. Keep the gun perpendicular to the surface. To practice proper gun positioning without spraying, try moving the gun and holding it perpendicular to the surface only 2 inches from the wall to learn the technique. Notice how at the beginning and end of each stroke you must flex your wrist to keep the gun and tip square to the surface. Move out to 12 inches for further practice. Work in sections only as far as you can comfortably reach. First, spray the outer edges and cut in any corners. Then point the spray tip at the edge of the previous stroke so the spray pattern is actually overlapping the prior stroke by 1/2. Trigger the spray gun after beginning each stroke and release before ending the stroke. Your arm should be moving before and after you trigger the gun. This will prevent blotches of thick coating at the beginning and end of each stroke. To ensure an even amount of paint on the surface, after completing the first stroke, aim the spray gun so the tip points at the edge of the previous stroke, overlapping each stroke by half. When spraying on broad open surfaces such as ceilings and bare walls, the outside edges should be sprayed first. Then the middle can be sprayed more quickly. For inside corners, aim your spray gun into the corner, like this. Spray along the corner, painting an even amount on both sides. Typically, when painting, it's best to start at the top and work your way down. Begin by spraying any eaves or the underside of overhangs. The direction you spray is determined by the construction. As a general rule, spray horizontal and make sure you direct the spray up a little to spray the bottom lip of your siding. With a little practice, this easy-to-use sprayer will have you spraying like a pro in no time. Remember, hold the gun straight with no tilt up or down, or angle left or right. Have the spray gun moving before and after you trigger the gun. Move at a consistent speed, and when spraying, overlap the prior stroke by 50%. Allow significant time for the paint to dry before removing tape from your trim. This will result in crisp, clean lines. When you're done painting, the job isn't quite finished. Unfortunately, there's always cleaning up to do. However, Graco sprayers make cleaning up easier than you might think. If you're only taking a short break or for overnight storage to complete the job the next day, simply leave the suction tube and prime tube submerged in the paint. Relieve the pressure in the system by turning the prime spray valve to the prime position. Place your gun in a bucket of water or mineral spirits to keep the paint from drying on the tip. If the shutdown period is longer than 2 days, or if you have completed your job, then you need to completely flush out the system. Proper flushing and storage is vital to the life and performance of your unit. This video covers shutdown and cleaning for water-based materials only. If you are using a non-water-based material, such as oil-based enamel paints or stains, please see your manual for instructions. For shutdown and cleaning after using a water-based material, turn the power switch off. Turn the prime spray valve to prime to relieve pressure in the system. Place the suction tube and prime tube into a waste pail. After making sure the gun safety is on, unscrew the spray tip guard and assembly from the spray gun. Next, attach the power flush to a garden hose. Close the power flush valve and turn on the water to the garden hose. Open the power flush valve. Clean off the suction tube, prime tube, and inlet screen. Remove the inlet screen from the suction tube. And then attach the garden hose and power flush attachment to the suction tube. With the prime tube in the waste pail, the prime spray valve should still be in the prime position. Open the power flush valve. Allow the unit to pump water through the prime tube for at least 20 seconds. In order to save the paint that's in the hose, turn the gun safety off and squeeze the gun trigger while pointing the gun into the paint pail. With the power switch off, turn the prime spray valve to spray and the pressure control knob to the clean position. Turn the power switch on. Paint from the suction tube and paint hose is saved back into your paint pail. When you start to see paint from the gun that's diluted with water, move the gun to the waste pail, while keeping the gun trigger squeezed. Keeping the trigger squeezed will keep you safe and help you avoid a splashback hazard. After moving the gun to the waste pail, you will want to keep the gun triggered for about 2 minutes, or until relatively clear water comes out of the gun. Then release the trigger and turn the gun safety on. Turn the power switch off and turn the prime spray valve to prime to relieve pressure in the system. Turn off the water to the hose. Go ahead and remove the power flush attachment and unscrew the garden hose. The sprayer is now clean, but you will also want to fully clean the tip guard, inlet screen, and gun filter to ensure proper performance. To clean the tip guard, and inlet screen, simply use a soft bristle brush to remove any paint after rinsing with water. Graco spray guns have a filter in the handle to help prevent tip clogs. For some spray guns, simply unclip the trigger guard and unscrew the handle